Well, welcome back to Steel City Roundtable. I am Mark Nebo, and this is my host, Natalie Snyder. And she was just telling me some really funny shit. So if I look like I just laughed a little bit, I did. How you doing, Natalie?
I am doing very well. Happy belated 4th of July. Would you guys do fun?
So Shelly is the best wife ever. She had a little picnic for us out in the backyard.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I grilled and she played with the dogs, and I drank my 0% alcohol Peronis, which are delicious. What'd you do?
My mom came over, hung out in the pool. My mom came over, had dinner. I grilled. Um, I love fireworks, but
Mhm.
I'm the only one that loves fireworks. And like everybody says, oh, we'll go with you. But I'm not going to make people do things they don't want to do. But I was sitting on the couch watching a movie or TV or whatever with my kids, and my youngest one, um, I guess being very perceptive of people's emotions, which of course made me very proud.
Gay.
No, well, I don't know, but pulled up the live stream of the DC fireworks so I could watch them.
That's cool.
And I cried because it was such an awesome mom moment. All right, and I'm a big sap.
That's cool though. That's cool though.
It was
That's
it was
good.
a very sweet thing for a 12-year-old to think
It's
about.
nice when the kids in your life know what you need. You know what I mean,
Yes.
to lift you up.
And it was a very strange feeling because I sent her a message later, and it was one of those kind of bizarre things that I think we can both agree that our parents would never have sent to us, where I said, that really meant a lot. I was hurting and you healed something that was just sad
Yeah.
without having to do. And I'm thinking, my mom or dad could have probably cut off my toe and still wouldn't have said sorry. So it was kind of a neat opportunity for that, and to kind of reinforce empathy, which, oh, hi, what are we doing?
Hey, folks, excuse me.
What?
I'm always changing something.
I'm the ADHD person. Why are you fidgeting so much? Well, you told me I couldn't do that before.
Well, because Boobs McGee over here, got to keep your boobs in the camera frame.
Can you miss them? For the love of all things holy. I mean, they're not small. They're not. Oh, good. I get my mic on this side now.
Yeah,
Should I
this
put it
works
in my
out better.
lap?
This works out better for you.
Yes, because this table, the short person table.
Well, I can extend the table. It's kind of like a male's phallic region, It gets bigger.
Sure it does.
Oh, well, how about this shit? So, 4th of July, Shelly and I posted a video on TikTok where I called my dogs retarded.
You got backlash.
TikTok took off the sound. Because I said,
Because-
I think, quote unquote, I said, I'm here with my wife, Shelly, say hi. She said hi. And my two dogs, Maisie and Dakota, who are both retarded, to be politically correct, MHMR.
I saw it,
And they pulled it
but I watched
the
it.
first day.
Oh, I must have seen. Oh, I'm like, wait, because I remember laughing at the MHMR thing.
Yeah, they pulled it, and then I appealed it, and they denied it.
Well, at least they move quickly.
So I put the next one out when I just cut out the retarded part. But I was like, you've got to be kidding me that that's how sensitive these social media companies are.
Well, we are having a TikTok crisis in my household right now. My 16-year-old daughter's TikTok went wonky, and I guess the main wonkiness that remains, I have no face.
That's okay.
The main wonkiness that remains is she can't get into her DMs. So, as we've often discussed, this is a teenager that's having social media issues. So life is essentially over as we know it. But she'll laugh about it. She's like, I know it's not that deep, but it's making me sad. I know it's not that big of a deal, but she looked at me. She was so right. She's like, but mom, you have to understand this. What did she say? This arena, whatever she said, not just TikTok, but this is her world. This is the world they live in, and my kids are pretty darn limited. But it's like, yeah, it really is. And this is what it's going to be moving forward. So hopefully we can all find a way to navigate it appropriately. We'll see.
It's kind of crazy because, you see posts every day, right? You see stuff, and I'm going to pull up a post here that kind of pissed me off a little bit yesterday. So folks,
So we're doing it?
Oh, we're doing it.
Okay.
So, it seems like everybody's out there on social media to either grab their fame or badmouth somebody or something. It's starting to drive me nuts. So there's a podcast out there who I am a big fan of, right? It's the Burn Pit podcast with Scott Siverts and I think his partner in crime's name is Matty Wack.
Okay.
And so he put a post up the other day.
Sorry to interrupt, what's their general, like, shtick?
They talk a lot of politics.
Okay.
If I can get this thing to work.
So I just thought context might.
Yeah. So, he posted something yesterday, and like I said, we're different mentalities, right? Like, these guys talk a lot of politics, so they're deep into stuff that I don't understand, right? But it was a post about law enforcement that really pissed me off, because I just wanted to say this is like the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So, folks, we're going to play this for you real quick. This is Matty Wack of the Burn Pit podcast.
Country, because all they are, in my opinion, is bodyguards for tyrants. And without the police, politicians would just be dead guys.
I'm going to start that over from the beginning.
Law enforcement is the #1 problem in this country, because all they are, in my opinion, is bodyguards for tyrants. And without the police, politicians would just be dead guys.
Okay, so
Wow, he hates law enforcement.
I mean, so listen, I have respect for Matt and I have respect for Scott. Matt, from what I understand, is more of a libertarian and an anti-establishment guy.
Period. Okay.
But let's go over this like a little bit by little bit. First off, who protects most of the politicians?
Secret Service?
It's usually government agencies. They're still LEO, but they're not police. I mean, some areas you have Capitol Police. You have the LEO. You have like Secret Service. They're in charge of like the big guys.
Right.
But when local politicians are here, yes, they have undercover bodyguards that usually are law enforcement or have been law enforcement. But you're basically clumping the entire law enforcement community into this nutshell, saying that they're all just part of a bigger problem, when yes, there's a big problem, right? Like, there's a problem in law enforcement. But the things that are being done by the politicians, the law enforcement officers don't dictate those policies.
Well, no, but a lot of them are the people that put them there and like those policies, because I think the mentalities are feeding negatively off each other.
Yeah, I mean,
it is, my opinion. I think that, officers aren't making decisions for politicians. Politicians aren't actually making it, but they're feeding off each other.
Well,
and continuing the problem.
So here's the thing, right? Every law enforcement officer, municipal, state, whatever, they take an oath of service, right? They take an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States and hold up the Constitution of the state that they live in, the state that they work in. And within that oath is to protect property, protect people that cannot protect themselves, serve to the best of your ability. It's not the law enforcement officers' faults that politicians are destroying the system by trying to accomplish their own agendas. And, I agree with Matty to a point. There's a lot of bad things going on in law enforcement. There's a lot of bad cops out there. Unfortunately, there's a lot of cops that,
Well, and I think the politicians are really grasping onto that, and they're basically, there's a cavity that's growing from bad officers. I'm not saying one thing came before the other, but however we got here. And the politicians are just diving right into that, opening it wider. And then, this is the cyclone that develops.
But to say they're just bodyguards for tyrants.
Well, I think that was just a literally, in my opinion, stupid statement.
I mean, like I said, he's a very educated man, right? Like, he knows what he's talking about.
What's the percentage of officers that bodyguard, that provide security for politicians?
Yeah, to say that law enforcement are just...
I mean, there's a lot of material there. He picked the wrong thing.
Well, it's such a general statement. It's such an anti-law enforcement statement. And no offense, Matty, like, I get what you're saying. Like, you got your opinions, and I do too. And I think that to generalize law enforcement like that, to say that all they are here is to protect the dirty politicians and to do their bidding, is a bunch of bullshit. A law enforcement officer shows up.
The flip side of that is, or if you want to defend, also look at the side that the ones that are protecting, bodyguarding politicians, a lot of them, either side of the aisle, because it changes every couple of years, a lot of them have to, because of the oath that they've sworn, protect people they can't stand and would rather see dead. So, and they have to take a bullet for that person.
Well, I mean, I know in Pittsburgh, the mayor was guarded by a Pittsburgh police officer.
Yeah, is that still the case?
I have no idea. Since I've been gone, I don't know how it works anymore.
Yeah,
But I mean, the bottom line is this: law enforcement is upholding the Constitution, United States, and local constitutions. Right? They're trying to, as a whole, trying to uphold justice, do what's right, and stop people from doing bad shit. Like
how about I'll agree with you that that's their
that's the goal.
job.
That's the goal.
Okay.
The good ones, the majority of people are doing that. The ones that suck, like I think Maddie should maybe be a little more particular about what he's talking about and say like, the officers that are, guarding politicians or the officers that do this or that. At the end of the day, you can't say that all law enforcement are bad because that's just an uneducated, ignorant statement.
I agree. I think, in thinking about this, we normally break them into suck and not suck categories.
Yes.
But
A and Z for you and me.
was not a fan. Anyway. Oh, could peg that one in from across the room. Anyway, moving on. I think there are more categories. You could micro split anything, but you have the outright bad, dirty, fucked up cops.
Yes.
Okay. Then you have the in it for the right reasons, actually want to help people, actually want to protect our communities, actually do the job, actually love the job. This isn't city versus other place, just law enforcement officers. But then you have another category of the lazy. Now, the lazy can be then split into two of, they can be harmless lazy. They're just kind of there.
Yeah.
And then there's the lazy that cause problems and get people hurt.
And the lazy that do illegal things because they think they can get away with it.
Well, see, I put them in the you really suck category.
Yeah.
Even if you're lazy. I mean, you're taking an affirmative step to do something that's wrong.
It's, like I said, I see what he's saying. You know what I mean? I see what he's saying. There's a portion of the law enforcement community that are shitheads and that do bad shit. And we know that. We talked about that all the time. But then you get guys like Dominic Izzo out of Chicago, who's an ex-cop, and he's a total, like, anti-cop now. He just rips them apart all the time. And he says he's there to build up the law enforcement and make it a better system. But then, every statement out of his mouth is how cops are bad, and how they're this and how they're that and blah, 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 blah.
Well, and if you know the mentality whatsoever of law enforcement, that's not going to help their morale. They are a very, very fragile bunch.
People like Dominic Izzo and people that make statements like Matty Whack made are part of the problem. Because if you're perpetuating that mentality
I
that
think
all
they're
law
definitely
enforcement are shit,
exacerbating.
then the people that watch your show are going to sit down and they're going to, if they already share a viewpoint with you, they're probably going to go along with you down the line on most of your viewpoints. Like, people just follow the leader, right? Like, if you believe in one point somebody puts up, you're probably going to believe in the rest.
Or at the very least, you'll listen to the rest.
Example: Republicans, Democrats. Democrats believe what they're told. Republicans believe what they're told. Like, and for the most part, people vote on party, not on platforms, and not on standpoints, and not on what they actually want to do for the country. Like, I just invited the Democratic mayoral candidate Corey O'Connor and the Republican candidate Tony Marino to come on the show, and Tony's already accepted. So thank you, Tony. Appreciate it, brother. Can't wait to have you on. But I have yet to hear from Corey O'Connor, and I seriously doubt he's going to come on because it's just some of the stuff that I have a feeling that's going to be talked about is going to be very touchy-feely. But people vote for parties. People believe what they're told. There's not a lot of people doing research to actually see if the shit they're hearing is true.
Well, and it goes back to we've beat this horse dead. How many people left have any independent thinking left in them? I mean, and it cracks me up because, I mean, I've said this, you've got, and this is kind of a law enforcement politics type thing, but it really was very frustrating to me over the last number of years to watch, especially post, Trump's legal issues. And this isn't a statement one way or another, except to say that you have a bunch of law enforcement that are like, that's awesome. We don't care that he's been convicted. That's great. I'm glad you don't care. I, as a defense attorney, personally think that should be your opinion. Now, could you extend it to my clients?
Yeah.
Not just to the presidential candidate you've been told likes you, so you like him.
Well, I agree. Let's go back to this post, though. The reason why I have a problem with this post, once again, is because it's an ignorant statement. It's almost an uneducated statement. And Matt, I kind of am disappointed in Matt because he's much more educated than he put out in that statement. That sounded like somebody that was angry and had some type of bad run-in with the cops and just hates all cops now. I
It
mean, and
definitely
that's,
did. My only question to you, because I didn't see it before watching this, was there, and I'm not saying there was there any more context?
I don't
Was
know. I'm just going based on that clip. I would love to, hey guys, let me know what episode that is, and I'll watch the whole episode. And then
Yeah, because I'd
if
be
I'm wrong,
curious, whatever, if it
yeah.
wasn't just a sound bite. Because I mean, take some of the, if you take some of our clips,
I mean,
it's gonna be really bad.
I'm not technologically savvy, but I was looking for it last night for about 40 minutes, and I couldn't find. I was just trying to find an episode with the shirt that he was
Because if
wearing.
nothing else, I'd be curious what the conversation was or what the additional
Yeah,
context was, even if it helps us cause or hurts us cause. I'm just because there obviously was more to the episode than that.
and I mean they're heavy in politics, so I'm sure there was a political aspect to this that they were talking about beforehand. But even just taking,
I guess my hope is that he would sound less
I would hope that he would
silly.
justify and clarify the statement. So that's what I'm hoping. But like I saw the clip and I had to comment on it because, like I said, that's part of the problem. Those type of statements are inflammatory. They're anti-law enforcement. They're anti-justice. They're anti-symbiotic relationship. They're anti-peace. Those are the type of statements that rile people up, right? And I saw some of the comments, and everybody's like, "Yeah, blah 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 blah," and they weren't very nice. Like they were like agreeing with this statement, and I'm like, "What world do we live in where cops are bad all the time? Like they're not bad when they come to your house to check your house when somebody's you get a burglar alarm.
Right.
Your neighbor's throwing fucking dog shit at your door and you call them and they come in and take care of it. Your daughter gets raped and they go out and get this guy and they catch him and they prosecute him. Without cops, the world falls apart. It just falls apart. And to say that all of them are tyrant or bodyguards
Kind of
for
like defense
tyrants.
attorneys aren't so bad when your kid gets in trouble.
Correct. Like, nobody wants to see a cop. Cops normally see people when it's somebody's worst day.
Well, it's so funny you just said that. People call me, they leave me a message, or they send me a text. It's a prospective client. So, me being raised, I know it doesn't always show, but to be overall polite, you call them, you say, is this Jane? Yes, it is. Hi, Jane. This is Natalie Snyder returning your call. How are you? Because it's a typical. If you're calling me, the answer to that question is self-evident.
Yeah, what'd you do?
You are not having a good day. But what are you supposed to? I feel like a cow if I'm like, what's up? What happened? Like there has to be some lead in, but I say that to people like, in 20 years, I haven't found a better way to start a conversation. But the same with officers, if you're encountering them, no matter whether you're a victim, whether you're an arrestee, it's a bad day.
Yeah. And I mean, there,
No matter who.
I agree with the statement to an extent that police are a necessary evil. I mean, granted, they're necessary. You have to have some agency or some group of people that are looking out for the laws of the area you live in and trying to protect people, property, and things. Protect life, protect limb, protect those that can't protect themselves. Like you have to have that. And unless you want a military state where they bring the military in to do it, which would be even worse, you know what I mean?
I have an alternative.
Oh, please don't put. Oh, she's gonna say put a bunch of attorneys out there, and then everybody goes free.
No, it's even better than that because I have found a new show to binge.
Is it like
It's-
Married at First Sight or some shit like that?
No. Please. It's Yellowstone. So we should all just have cowboys. That's the new solution. Ripping a bunch of cowboys.
Okay,
You never know what's coming out of my mouth, do you?
it's possible. It's possible, but like I said,
I mean, that could serve a lot of interests.
we're not political, right? Like we don't talk a lot of politics.
No.
Because number one,
Because I'd like to keep my business alive.
I mean, I'm a Republican and I have my beliefs, but I also am not just a Republican that believes in the Republican Party because it's Republican. I believe in the things that they stand for. And I don't like all the things that they stand for. There's a lot of things going on right now that I can't stand. Same thing with law enforcement. I support law enforcement as a whole, but I don't blindly support law enforcement thinking that everybody's good and thinking that everybody does the best job they can and thinking that everybody does it the right way.
Well, because we're making blanket statements. We're broad brushing. It's the same as saying, I mean, not all cops are awesome. Not all cops are terrible. Not any human is all good or all bad in any profession, in anywhere. I mean, anytime, unfortunately, everything in life, pardon the legal jargon, but has to be a case by case basis. Because while, my oldest daughter, for something that occurred the other day, I know for a solid maybe 42 hours, I was devil mom. I'm not going to stay devil mom forever.
Yeah.
I don't think. I'm going to make that assumption. But I mean, and you know, I remember having those conversations as a teenager that you hate your parents and they're terrible and awful. And I can only imagine what my two kids talked about in their room that night as they were going to sleep. But that would be like saying, because of that incident, or there have been many that made me devil mom, that I am just across the board devil mom. And that's not a fair statement. That would be like you personally still being on the side of, I think all defense attorneys are assholes.
I don't.
Exactly, but that's the same. We can't broad brush anything. And, you know, while I have, you know, politically, I tend to have more conservative beliefs, there are things that, you know, it's not an across the board. I don't check off from A to Z and necessarily agree with everything.
Yeah.
I think that it has to go with an overwhelming picture for anybody, but at the same time, if we think about things, you can still say, I'm a Democrat, but I don't, you know, I like A, B, D, and F, and not the rest. But as you still believe in the overall principles, not the specifics.
Yeah, and I think.
But that involves thinking.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, when it comes down to the end of the day thing that I want people to take away is that we can't put all law enforcement into one barrel. We can't put all politicians into one barrel. Everybody's different. Everything's subjective. You know, law enforcement is here to protect people and lives and property. Like, that's their job, you know?
And are there going to people that do it well? Yes. Are there going to be people that screw it up royally? Yes.
But engaging in this all police are fucking garbage is detrimental to the foundation of that career and that duty in life. You know, you're just making it harder for them because, you know, everything we do and everything we say has a ripple effect.
Well, and that's like saying everybody of X race is meant to be a criminal. It's the same thing. And people would, you know, that's not okay to say either. It's the same concept.
You know, if I come out and say all drunks are fucking pieces of garbage and they're useless, you know, that those words affect somebody somewhere down the road. It all ripples out. It all comes to play somewhere.
That would be like me coming in here saying, you know, anybody that has mental health issues or hasn't successfully managed their anxiety on this day or their ADHD, they should all just die. I mean,
and I just
there's nothing productive.
No, granted, you know, maybe I live in utopia, and maybe, you know, since, you know, I'm living my best life now and I'm trying to do things better and I still fuck up, but, you know, I just think that's just fucking stupid.
Well,
I just think it's stupid.
I mean, humans make mistakes and humans do awesome things. So we can't just continue to only focus on one aspect. We can't act like, you know, all off. And look, I mean, I'm hard on police officers. You know that. I have opinions. I have a lot of them. I have them loudly, and a lot of them are negative. But they are isolated. Literally every opinion I have that's negative, I don't, but I can associate with an individual human that embodies this and is where it came from. It's not a reflection on the entire. I think there's an overarching mindset that gravitates towards law enforcement, and I find a lot of that very problematic, as we've talked about. I think it's the people with generally whether it's the meathead anger issues or the got shoved in a locker issue. I think there's a personality type that gravitates towards law enforcement, the same as there's a personality type that gravitates towards being lawyers. And I think it can be a benefit, but it can be a huge detriment. But that's true with anything. You know, I think the fact that, you know, look, me personally, if I'm in a situation where I need a cop's help, I'm sorry, I don't want some 4'8", 98-pound woman showing up to help me in my situation. I want some big, scary looking guy. That to me is what might seem a negative attribute in that immediate circumstance, a positive attribute. When I had an issue with a client in my office and I had to call 911 and I knew what to say, and weapons unknown because I needed someone to get there fast.
Did you get beat up?
Yeah. And amongst other things, but where I was, the chief of police at the time was like 942 years old, and he walks down and he wants to now. I'm like, you need to get him out. Like, I needed some big, mean Tony Moreno looking guy coming and just getting him out. But that's not to say that there are situations where I would much prefer, you know, if I've got someone in my family that's having a mental health crisis, mayhaps that 4'8", 90-pound woman has a background in psychology and would be able to, then that's who I want in that situation, and not someone that's going to make it worse. We need different people in all arenas of life. But the one caution is, I really wish any industry that involves working with other people, if you hate people, please don't work in any of these arenas, please, including being a clerk down at City Court.
Yeah, just don't be part of the problem. Don't be part of the problem. You know, if you're going to make it worse, you know, and people are going to be like, "Oh, Mark, you're a fucking hippie. You're a whiner. You know, just because you're a cop, you think they're all good." No, I don't think they're all good. Listen, I worked with shitbag cops. You know, I worked with people that I just wanted to punch in the face, and I never wanted them to come to my calls because they were assholes.
Yeah, we've
And they treated
disagreed
people
about a
like
number
shit.
of things, but it's never been you saying all cops are good.
You know, and that's one thing. Like, you know, it's up to each one of us to use the fucking thing between our ears and use logic to determine whether or not someone's good or bad, or a cop's good or bad, and go into every situation, you know, on a case by case basis. And I think that's what I'm getting at is, you know, hopefully Matt responds, and hopefully there's more to this comment. I'm just going based off of that, you know, 10-second clip.
That was a wicked soundbite.
But that was enough to fucking rile my feathers and be like, well, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, that's just, like I said, that's just it's an ignorant statement. It's an ignorant statement that does more harm than good.
Well, and I certainly can sympathize with your internal reaction to that on a different level, because look, the majority of the population thinks all defense attorneys are weaselly scumbags and liars by virtue of before they know us, by virtue of what we do. And so, you know, I don't appreciate being painted with that broad brush any more than I appreciate, you know, people I care about that are law enforcement being painted with that brush.
Yeah.
But it would require people overall to independently think and analyze situations as they are presented with them. And well, the chances of that happening are slim to none.
So what do you want to talk about now?
I don't know.
I mean, that was 26 minutes of, you know, probably something that only deserved about 8 seconds, but.
Oh, well, I'm curious about, I know we've touched on this, but maybe it's my lack of memory. So I have experienced in my own mental health, healing, recovery, etc., to at times find it to be a very isolating and very lonely place. Did those same feelings exist when you're getting sober? Like, do you literally, other than your drinking buddies, but like, are there people you lose just because you're bettering yourself?
It's actually kind of funny. Shelly and I, my wife, we were talking about this earlier this week, believe it or not. Like, I have some very good friends that since I got sober, our relationships have changed. You know, because I don't go out to bars anymore, and if I go to a bar, I'm only there for a short period of time. I don't feel the need to be there. I don't go out when people are drinking. So like the frequency of our gatherings has stretched out. The contact has stretched out. Like, we don't talk as much. We don't see each other as much. Now, do I think we're not friends now? No. But
Okay.
I think when someone makes such a huge life change, like you literally do a 180 and become a different person, you know, the person that they knew for all those years before was Mark the drinker, right? Mark the fucking animal at the bar, Mark the guy that likes to wrestle when he's hammered, Mark the guy that likes to do this, and the other. So, you know, now that I'm boring, really, honestly, I'm boring. Like,
That's awesome though.
like I spend my weekends with my wife and my dogs. Like, we were just out doing a little bit of yard work, and you know, like I don't do shit. Like, I hang out, I go golfing. I just started back at the gym because I'm a lazy fat fuck. And I don't really go out and do stuff. So it's like, for example, I didn't plan my wedding even thinking about whether anybody was going to be in town. I was like, this is when we're doing it. And then nobody could come. I was like, whatever. Enjoy your vacation. I'll see you when you get back. We'll celebrate. We got married 3 weeks ago. I still haven't gone out with these people, you know, and part of it's my fault because I don't like pursue it. I'm not going to chase anybody down and say, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. But I think it's not so much isolation after you've been sober for a little while, but I think the isolation is definitely a big factor right when you change. Because there's a lot of shame. There's a lot of disappointment in yourself. There's a lot of, I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to stay by myself.
So it's a self-isolation different than I felt that I just had lost people that were close to me because they just, for whatever their reasons, I have no idea.
I mean, I think it depends on where you are in your recovery. You know, like if you're fresh into recovery, like you need your friends and you need your support network. So if you feel like they're not there, that's going to leave a hole. That's going to leave a huge gap in your heart. You know, I don't think people, if they're truly your friends and they truly love you and care about you, they're not going to leave you. But the relationships will change. The dynamics change.
Well, and I think it's interesting, at least for me, the number of people that were very, very close to me and still are close to me, but during the darkest points for me had and that's on me, had no idea anything was wrong.
Mhm.
Had no idea anything was going on. And didn't realize, I guess, because the shift into what I became, like there was, you know, original me, the whatever this was, and the, coming out of it me. But as I slipped into that place, didn't it wasn't like an abrupt change. It wasn't like it all of a sudden I was, I think it happened in a subtle enough fashion that people didn't really realize. And when you're an adult, you don't see, it's not like you're in school. So you
Well,
don't
it's
see
not
the
like addiction.
same.
It's not like you just up and left and disappeared for a month.
Correct.
You were still here doing your daily shit.
Right. It's still,
Yeah.
and it had become commonplace. And we're like, it will say to me now, like one of my best friends in the world whose wedding I'm in next month was like, I didn't realize how low you had gotten. But now seeing you come out the other end of it, I now realize, holy shit, how'd I miss that?
I think a big part of it is that everybody's so in a hurry to get the next thing done. You know,
Well,
there's
and
everybody's,
it's not like I was telling people, it was an
yeah.
internal. I mean, I was still playing my role.
Yeah, I mean, with anybody in recovery from mental health and alcoholism, I think we're very good actors. I think we could probably win all kinds of
Oh,
awards because we don't let people know what's going on. We have those two personalities. You know, we have the personality that everybody sees, right?
and then the
The
one that
jovial, the
kills
happy,
us.
the one that's getting shit done at work. And then you got the one at home that's pissing himself in the fucking corner because he's too lazy to get up and go to the bathroom after he's drank all day. You know, like we're not going to show
I
people.
have my shit together when I walk into court, but meanwhile, internally, I want to die.
We're such, I think human beings are so proud in their nature that we're such a prideful species in that we don't want anybody to ever see us suffer or ever see us fail. So we will do everything we can to portray that era of success and that we've got everything under control until it's completely out of control and then it just you can't control it anymore.
What's so ironic, I guess, to me about you saying that is I only had one of those problems. I guess it's my own self-deprecation thing. I never had a problem with people seeing me fail. Like I was okay with that, but I never wanted people to see me suffer. Like I'd sooner let somebody see me fail. I think it's because I expected to fail, so I was kind of okay with that.
Well, I
But
mean, you're in a
never
career where
wanted.
you're going to fail.
Well,
You know, you're going to lose a case. It's technically you failed, but you didn't because you did the best you
also
could.
yes, but like I was much more comfortable with failure than with people knowing I was struggling.
See, for me, it was like I kind of have this weird take on it. Like, I feel it was so clear that I was fucked up. Like, I just look back on it. I'm like, how did nobody know what I was doing? Like, did they not pay attention?
See,
And
and
I
it makes
think
me wonder, had we had stuff together, had I known you then, I'm like, would I have known? Would I have figured it out? Would I have picked
I
up on
think a
it?
lot of it's the distance. If you don't like see somebody a lot,
That's
like if
true.
you only see them once in a while, like I would see my friends, we'd go out to the bar, we'd have Sunday fun day, we'd get drunk all day, and then I wouldn't see them for a month. So like they didn't know what was going
And
on. But like
Sunday was also Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday,
but
Friday,
like the not
Saturday.
responding to phone calls, the canceling all the time, and not coming out to hang out, like the changing plans so that I could drink more, or you know all the stuff that I was doing to avoid contact with other people because all I wanted to do was drink because I was so screwed up mentally that I couldn't function without drinking. So like everything was around the drinking. So I think we push people away
Well, and it's
is what I'm
interesting
getting at.
because no, I think you're right. I had very, excuse me, little, I guess, actual legit contact with my closest network of people then. But at the same time, it was like, well, nobody was checking on me. And so then it was putting me in a darker place when at the
But you
same
weren't given
time,
the signs for
well,
them to check
it
on you.
was exactly but it took me till being on this end to be like,
This is
well,
bad for you. Don't do it.
I wouldn't have asked me if I was okay either because I seemed perfectly fine. I mean, I would have thought at some point when you hadn't seen me for a while and I put on like 60 pounds, you might have been like, everything okay? But I guess nobody's going to say that to a woman. I mean, I would have thought that was some indication
you
of.
can't say anything about weight to a woman.
Okay,
no.
but wouldn't it be like, just give you a reason to ask, is everything okay? But I did it to myself. I didn't. People didn't know for a reason. But then it's like this continuing cycle of. And I couldn't see it when I was in it. It was just like, nobody cares. You play Eeyore. Nobody cares. Nobody knows that I'm in this dark place. Nobody. And it's not till you're out the other end where it's like, well, of course they didn't know. You didn't say anything.
And like I said, this is like everything else. It's individual, right? Every one of us treats this disease, mental health, mental illness, or whatever you want to fucking call it, and addiction. We treat these illnesses differently. Like we respond differently. Nobody does the same thing. There are characteristics that are very similar that most people go through: the isolation,
True.
the depression, the anxiety,
But it
the lack of
different.
energy. Like all that shit happens. Like that's physical responses to the stress.
But the
right?
face on it is different for each and every person.
My best friend Steve, he was on my 1-year anniversary. We did a episode, right?
Okay.
And it was pretty emotional for me because he actually told me some things that he was thinking when I went to rehab. And I called him to say I was going to rehab, and he was, him and his wife were going on vacation like the next day or some shit. And he tells me on the show that he didn't know if he was ever going to see me alive again.
Wow.
Because I was that fucked up at the end. Like, and then my brain goes like, well, if you thought that,
What?
if you thought that, why didn't you say something? Why didn't you, but the thing is, it's not their fault. You know what I mean?
It's
Because we put on that sign of false strength.
Well, and now I look around me, and since I started talking about it and started telling people, you've heard me talk about my mighty cavalry and this group of people I have around me, that now it's like, part of me is like, people really do care. People really are. Yeah, because they fucking know now. They know what was going on. They now know to ask. It's opened avenues with, and I've met through LCO other people in recovery for either addiction or mental health. But, this core group of people, I got a random text from a guy that used to be in the DA's office, who's the second newest member of the Mighty Cavalry. He's a baby. I mean, he's so young, but knew immediately he was going to be good. But the last time he was in town and we all had dinner, a bunch of us had dinner together, and just out of nowhere, because he's also a rampant ADHD person, so he'll just ping off to nowhere. But out of nowhere the other day, he's like, hey, just wanted to check in. Hope everything's going well. Wish people I got to deal with lawyers down here that are more like you and didn't take bullshit. Whatever he said, but was extremely nice and was legit. And I'm like, wow, why didn't people say this to me when I was in a dark time? Because nobody knew I was in a dark time. And it's neat because I say now, I'm like, I'm so blessed to have these people around me. And then I kind of kick myself. It's like they could have and would have happily been around during the dark time if they knew it was happening.
Hey, so I think people are just so caught up in the rat race of
life,
having families, having kids, doing what they need to do. And I'm not saying that they don't pay attention, but I'm just saying, unless it's some blatant sign, like, you come in and you got slices on your wrists.
Oh, let's not even talk about that. I mean, there's people with
you didn't do that yourself.
Okay, but do you know how many people think that I did this?
I mean, if you did it pretty well. I mean, those are pretty straight lines. But if anybody wants to see what she said, hold your arm up.
Where?
Yeah. No. She didn't do that. And I didn't do that either.
It doesn't show.
Oh my God, you're freaking uncoordinated.
Okay, well, it's a Zorro Z, and it's supposed to look like a slash.
Try again. There, see? There. Jesus, I have to change cameras. What the fuck? But I think just it's not that they don't care and they're not paying attention. It's just that, like, everybody has so much going on now.
Well, I can't expect people to be mind readers either.
Correct. And if we're, like I said, we put on that facade that we're strong and that we're in control. And I think we put so much effort into that it becomes.
We do it too well.
We do it well. I mean, like, literally, I'm a better actor than Will Smith. Sorry, buddy.
I agree. Which makes me wonder, because at the point where you and I would have met, would have been like right after you started because I left the DA's office in 2007.
That's when I started with the police department.
So it would have been right there, and then I was
a flaming alcoholic at that time.
And I was out at that point till 2015. And then you left in what, 17?
19.
19. So we didn't account, but I wonder if during, like, right before you left was kind of when things were starting to take their toll on me. It's wondering in my own right, okay, I don't expect people to be a mind reader, but would I have known? And it's one of those idle curiosities. I just wonder if you and I had encountered each other. Is it one of those they smell their own, they know something's up with this other
It
person?
probably would have happened. I mean, I firmly believe that, addicts and people that suffer from mental health, like, we find each other. Like, randomly we find each other. Like, we were introduced by Kelly, who used to be my co-host. We were introduced, and then boom, we hit it off, and next thing you know, we're doing this thing together. She went and moved on, and she's doing her own thing now. Good for her. But I think another thing is that we're such good actors when it comes to hiding the pain and the suffering that we actually have to hit a moment where we stop acting and fooling ourselves. Like, we have to have that self-realization one day that there is something wrong, because, for me, it was like, when I was drinking 2-pounders on the way home from work and then chugging a half gallon, I was like, this is just what I do. Like, it didn't faze me. I saw nothing wrong with it because I didn't think anything was wrong with me. But then I went to, I had that moment of clarity where I wanted to, and I didn't. But I had that moment of clarity. Like,
Some of these truths are self-evident.
Yeah, like, I had that moment where I'm like, I can't do whatever the fuck it is I'm doing right now. I can't do this anymore. So I think I always talk about self-awareness and learning who we are as people. Like, you and I can't be sober, can't be recovering from mental health if we don't know who we are and we don't know what our weaknesses are and what our character flaws are and what our strengths are.
That's true. And for me, it was a multi-step process. Like, I knew something was wrong, and I believed it was just a buildup of anxiety that kind of crescendoed with my defense practice because it is a lot different than being a prosecutor. It's a lot more weight. And I didn't realize it. As many good friends, like Frank Walker and I have been close friends for 100 years, and he would say these things, but until you're the person that's standing there and feeling the weight come down on you as you just lost the case and your client's never going to see his kids again or his family again, and how much that starts to eat away at you, it was like, okay, well, I have some anxiety issues I have to deal with. I have to, so it was like, there was step one, so I reached out and started getting some help from that. And then there was backslides and this, that, and the other thing. And then, I think the final realization for me personally was, okay, I had no problem admitting I had a problem. Okay, I have anxiety. We all know I have ADHD. Fine, I'll get medicated. But it wasn't until the 2024 LCL conference, sitting in my hotel room after the mental health support meeting and getting one step past the, okay, I've got these issues. I can deal with them. They're not life altering, but getting to that, I need to change this.
Well, I mean, denial. Denial is not just a blatant act. Denial, it can be so many different levels. Denial could be saying, I know something's wrong, but I'm okay and I'll get through it. That's denial.
Right. And it wasn't until literally sitting there that night where I was like, I need to change. I'm like you, we know we have a lot of similarities. I'm an all or nothing. I need to change this. I need to fix this. I understand that I'm medicated, but look, a pill or 20 pills isn't going to fix all of it. I need to fix everything else, which, I came back. I don't believe in coincidence. God pointed me towards this place I drove past 100 times, which is now where I do CrossFit, that I was like, I'm going to go check it out. Meanwhile, I walked in, I was scared as hell. It's the most intimidating thing to walk into because CrossFit people are crazy. But in all of a sudden, like, I found this, and then reconnecting on a deeper level with my close friends and making new ones and being like, I don't want to just, I know I can get through it. I know I'll be okay. I know I'll still do my job. I know I'll still raise my kids, but this isn't the life for me. And this isn't the example I want to set for my daughters or for the people around me. So it needs to change.
Well, like I always say that, I want to be sober and happy. Being sober isn't shit. No offense, folks. Being sober isn't shit. Being sober and being miserable is just as bad as being a fucking flaming alcoholic. You're probably actually better off being the flaming alcoholic.
Because there really are a lot of people that have gotten sober and are miserable.
I mean, so if I'm not happy, then something I'm doing inherently is making me unhappy. Like, I live by the principle now that, like, if I can go home at night and go to bed and be comfortable with how my day went and what I did as a person, and I can sleep, then I've done a good job for that day. And I have to do that every single day. Every night I come home, I have to be able to sleep with myself, right? Like, that's huge for me. If I can't sleep at night, it's because I did something during my day that wasn't the best that I could do or wasn't right or I mistreated somebody. And then I got to figure that shit out, right? I've spent the last 2 years trying to figure out who I am as a person. And I'm still every day learning something new. Like, apparently I'm an asshole when it comes to money. Who would have thought, I'm a dick when it comes to money. Like, that's one of my big fucking triggers. Like, it drives me fucking nuts.
Okay.
It drives Shelly nuts because, she trusts me to take care of the money. And then sometimes I'm just a total fucking psycho, But I got a question for you. We're talking about how, like, we've gone through the stages and we've worked to get better and blah, 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 blah. How often do you still find yourself trying to take control of situations that you can't control?
Every day. I had a eureka moment when you were just talking. And it's a pillar, I know, for you, but it's tattooed on my foot. And it's the Serenity Prayer.
Hmm?
So, to courage to change the things that I can't. Okay, I'm good with that. I lock and load. I like that
It's the
part.
wisdom. The wisdom's what we fail. Knowing what we can change and what we can't.
Correct. And that is an absolutely daily struggle. And I'm learning that one of a big trigger for me is my relationship with my daughters. My oldest is like 16 and a half. She's a 16 and a half year old girl. I'm her mom.
Borderline woman.
And wise beyond her years. But teenagers and teenage girls and their moms fight. It's a worldwide phenomena. It happens in every family. I love the fact that my children feel safe enough with me to unload on me. And I'm emotionally intelligent and mature enough to know that's what's happening. But there are some times when we get into it where it's an absolute trigger and I panic in the sense of I don't ever want to lose my kids and my relationship with them. And so it sends me and I can't do anything about it. And, there was a point where I spent many, many, many years of my life learning to now overly control my temper because I have a bad temper. And I spent years bludgeoning it into submission. And sometimes when she and I get into it, or my other daughter, I can feel it creeping up. So instead of blowing a gasket and turning into an old school parent, which I refuse to do, I step away. Usually that means I go outside and smoke, but I literally separate myself. Well, I came to understand from her that she was taking that as I was walking away from her and not bringing this argument to closure. And it's like, well, crap, that's not what I was trying to do. But it's such a big thing, but I can't control everything. And it literally for me is a daily struggle, but it's not about everything anymore.
Remind me to bring up this clip. I did an episode while you were gone with this guy named Tom
Oh,
Kaminsky.
could you?
I got to keep going, Tom
The
Kaminsky.
world goes on without me.
When he
Speaking
did
of things I can't control.
when he did this episode, it was 10,000 days sober the day we did the episode. And at one point, I mentioned how my mother had sent me an email or text or something and asked me, because I always say that you can use the 12 steps in everyday life. It's a way of being a better person. And
Which has been very helpful since you taught me that, so thank you.
well, I didn't teach you shit.
Well, told me. How about
Yeah,
that?
well, everybody knows it. God damn it. So anyway, I was talking to him and I brought the subject up to him and I said, so how can you use the 12 steps in parenting? And what his response is very, very profound. Bottom line is you don't have to be right. One of the things he said is you don't have to be right.
There is some, it's remarkable because, and I've told you this on air and off, I have more than many times apologized to my children for screwing things up. Not just yelling or screaming, but fucking up, making mistakes, doing the wrong things. And I've said to them, like, you're walking a journey of me healing myself that you shouldn't have to deal with while you're figuring out who you are. You shouldn't have to be dealing with a mom who's trying to figure out the same. Like, that shouldn't be. But that there is something so selfish, but so immensely powerful in apologizing to your child that it is the most intense feeling. Like, I'll never forget the first time I apologized to both of them, totally separate times. They're 3.5 years apart, but significantly apologized. And it caught me off guard because, I mean, certainly as an adult now, my mom has apologized to things, but that's not the era we grew up in. Like our parents, they weren't like that. It just wasn't going to happen. Doesn't mean they're terrible. It just wasn't going to happen. But he's totally right. And you reminded me, I watched part of that episode and then I pinged and saw a pigeon and never finished the episode. But, and I want to go back and watch that part, but that is, that is probably, yeah, people always ask moms and other parents, what advice would you give a new parent or any parent or this, that? And I think I'm going to piggyback on him as, you're not always going to be right. You don't always have to be right because a parent always being right and that being their standard is I'm right, you're wrong is really damaging.
Yeah.
To kids, and you don't realize it, but being able to say I screwed up.
Well, guess what? That's one of the 12 steps, making amends.
Yeah.
When you do something wrong or you mistreat somebody, you apologize for it as soon as you can rather than let it fester and become a bigger issue. Like
we've had to do that with each other.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm the first one to say that if you ask me to give you the 12 steps in order, I can't give it to you. I have my description of the 12 steps, and that don't be an asshole, treat people with respect, apologize when you fuck up, try to do the next best thing, and just try to be a good person. Like that's what the 12 steps teach you to do. And I think when Tom talked about that, it was really cool to hear him talk about it as an alcoholic and addict in recovery for 27 years, having 3 kids and a wife, and being able to use the 12 steps to have a relationship, a ongoing and growing and powerful relationship with his kids, because he knows he doesn't have to be right all the time. Like he can be wrong and it's okay. His kids can tell him, "Hey, Dad, maybe you need a meeting today because you're acting like a dick." You know what I mean? Like it's
There's
that
a lot
back
of
and
comfort.
forth.
Yeah.
It's that back and forth of like, there is the parent-child relationship, but then there's the I care about you relationship.
Yes, that's totally it. Or like in my house, I know you'll be shocked, but my kids might be just as slightly as sarcastic as I am. So, they'll say, "Hey, Mom, can you take me to do?" And I'm like, "Well, that's when my Joe appointment is, and Joe's my therapist." And they're like, "No, Mom doesn't need to miss her Joe appointment."
I mean,
Like, and they'll say, but it's with love of
they know that you need it.
correct. And it's
They know
not
that you're a better person when you take care of your mental health.
and the same with getting to, cross. There's been times where they'll sit at the gym with me because I picked one of them up or something. And I'm like, the only way that I can get there. And they're like, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, but
Meanwhile, it's 900 degrees in there.
That's a huge thing that you have opened up with your kids to the point where they understand what mom needs, not what mom wants. Because we all have wants and needs, right? Mom wants a new car. Mom wants a diamond ring. Mom wants this. Mom wants that. Mom wants
right.
me to be
I never thought of it like that.
Mom wants me to be the best kid ever. But what mom needs is my love and affection and my unbiased opinion of her, knowing that she's trying to better herself on a daily basis. And I may have to suffer a little bit for her to get better. But by watching her get better, I'm going to learn some things too.
Well, it's interesting that you say that. Gave me a different perspective because I, you know, that's something I struggle with is taking care of it seems like a wish list, a want. When you hear all this stuff about women talking about self-care, it's inevitably something about chocolate, bubble baths, and like I ain't got time for that. And so
we have chocolate downstairs.
I hate chocolate.
Oh, we have really good Mexican
here's a shock for you. I'm a salty girl, not a sweet girl.
Oh, we got some candy for you downstairs then.
But realizing that these literally are needs, not wants. And I'm still
I mean,
tentative because I feel so selfish taking time away from being with my kids to go to the gym because it's like I gotta leave. I have to get mentally prepared because it's still intimidating after all this time. And so it's I have to stop taking time away from them. Yes, but it's kind of taking bad mom time away from them to give them good mom time.
Check into 2 people. One guy's name is Sadhguru, and the other one is Dr. Joe Dispenza. And they talk a lot about like binaural rhythms and, all types of things for mental health and how you can train yourself and how you can be better mentally. Sadhguru, one of his major principles is sometimes you just have to sit there and be. You have to sit in the moment and eliminate the noise and just realize that you can just be sometimes. And I think that's one of the things that we struggle with as Americans, no doubt, is just sitting still and being present in the moment for that moment, because everybody's doing 50 fucking things a day and we don't take the time for ourselves. Now,
well, we don't let ourselves be sad. We don't let our kids be bored. We don't let anybody feel like they have to process.
See, when you talk about it, you going to the gym, right? You working out with the gym and your kid sitting there, you going to see Joe. That's you just sitting there and being. That's you doing something for you, for your mental health to reset your programming. You know what I mean?
True.
And I think we all need that in life. We all need something that we do or don't do. You know, me, I love naps. I took a 2 hour nap after church today. I feel amazing. You know, like, but that was for me. And of course, my wife was like, "You're being crabby. Go take a nap." Like that's that relationship. Like she lives and married an alcoholic who has mental health issues. Like I am terrible sometimes, you know, but she's learning that, you know, hey, I can tell him he's being a dick and just go take a nap and shut up.
Yeah, but Mark, do you realize how amazing that is that she feels safe enough to express how she feels to you and know that she, one, won't be punished. There won't be negative repercussions, but also that in turn, you trust her enough to be like, yeah, okay, you're right. I'm going to go take a nap. But
I talk to her about everything. Like we talk about everything. We talk about like we have such a good foundation, like outside of marriage and outside of everything that we've accomplished together. Our foundation is so rock solid because we were talking about serious shit the first date. Like we built our relationship on talking about the hard topics,
mm,
you know, discussing the things that suck. Now, granted, there's some fucking red whistle fucking topics where it's like, I don't want to talk about that today because it's going to be an 8 hour conversation. And you're going to call me fucking white privilege and it's going to suck. Um, but you know, I mean, it's,
but
you
that
know,
generally she
two different
feels
cultures,
that
two
they
different
have to
worlds.
come to you
Yeah.
and express that. Just as a woman, I can say to you that is an unreal gift that you give her.
This
to
is
be
the
able to
first time in my life I've ever been able to be completely honest with somebody that I was with. You know, like I don't hide things from her. I don't, you know, I went to the gym the other night, right? On the way home from work, and I was wearing my metal ring, and I took it off and put it in my pocket because it kept clanging off the fucking bar,
Oh,
and it was driving me nuts. So I come home, and let me tell you what, she would have been a great detective. She's like, "Where's your ring?" I was like, "It's in my pocket, I swear." And she's like, "Why'd you take it off?" I was like, "Because it was." She's like, "Why'd you take it off?" I said, "Don't take it." I'm like, "Okay, I'm sorry. I'll wear the rubber one from now on. I'll never take it off." Like, you know, it sounds stupid, but the like our marriage is so important to both of us. Like we are a team. We are the best team. If you take one of us out of the equation, our lives are miserable. My vows at the wedding, I don't know if you could hear them way down there.
I couldn't hear them, and therefore I was so happy that I had seen them.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of tracking it at one point. I did pull out my phone because you had
Yeah.
said that. I was like, because I couldn't hear it and I was
Yeah.
sad, but I knew what was said.
But I mean, that's exactly it. Like, so my vows were I started talking about jigsaw puzzles and how jigsaw puzzles are a bunch of pieces that don't mean anything when they're upside down. And then once you start turning them over, you start to build these images and these pictures. And the more you build, the more beautiful the picture became. And she and I were both face down pieces of a puzzle. And then we met each other and we started building this beautiful life together. And I mean, gay as shit. Yeah, I know, whatever. But I love my wife. And without her, I'm nothing. You know what I mean? Without her, I'm not 2 years sober. Without her, I'm not still doing this. I would have quit this a year ago. You know, she's such a big supporter for me. And she supports me not because she has to, but because she thinks I'm this good person. And she just wants to see me continue
Which
to do
in
things I'm
turn
doing.
makes you want to strive.
And, you know,
And
like now I apologize when I'm a dick. Like it's often. It's often. I mean, it is. It's
okay, but
just,
the point is, did you before?
in any other relationship, I never apologized for shit. I was never wrong. You know, and like even
Oh, that's
now,
right. You are the self-professed narcissist.
yes, even
Okay.
now, she'll be like, what was it? She's like, I put these solar spotlights on the back of the house, right? And I bought these rope lights and did all this shit. She had mentioned, why don't you just buy solar spotlights? And I was like, no, I'm going to do it this way. And I ended up sending all that shit back and buying the
That's it.
spotlights. She's like, you should just listen to your wife. I'm like, never. But, you know, she's right. Like, you know, I'm so used to doing everything on my own because I had such a shitstorm of a life going that I
Right.
just, the only person I ever depended on was me. And it's really sad when you depend on somebody that's not dependable, you know? And like, even to this day, like I have problems letting her in and letting her take part of what I'm doing because I'm just so used to just doing shit by myself.
But that's part of you guys growing together.
Yeah.
And that will continue
And my mental
because
health has never been better. You know, like I still have bad days. You know, I think we got in a big argument like a couple weeks ago, and I was like, this is the first time I've really wanted to drink because I felt so bad of how this conversation had gone and I had upset her that I was like, I don't want to do this ever again. Like, I hate the way I feel. Like, I never had those feelings. You know, I didn't have feelings. Like,
oh, that's true. You are dealing with suddenly having feelings after not having
yeah,
feelings.
like,
So
I
that's
mean, when you drink, you don't have feelings. When you use alcohol and drugs and you drown yourself out, you don't have feelings anymore because you can't have feelings. It's you can't allow them to surface because when they do, they just fuck you up even more.
That's true.
But now like I feel things and sometimes it really fucking sucks. Sometimes it's really brutal to like go, oh my God, you are such a dick right now.
But sometimes those are the feelings you just have to kind of sit in, process, let them happen.
But I mean, this is the giving up control and realizing that like, the only thing I can only control certain things. I can control what I say and what I do. That's it.
Well, and there's one more that I've learned through through my own process, but through somebody sharing this with me, which is, and now I see it in memes on Instagram, but I hadn't when someone told me this was, you cannot control what other people do, how they treat you. All you can do is how you let it affect you, how you respond to it. And, that's not always the case, but for me, that's been a big boundary that I've had to work on because I'm not so good with those is not letting, and Joe saying to me, but it's not personal. Okay, well, when somebody taking a shot at me seems really damn personal, like I don't know how you can say to me that's not personal, and he's like, well, that's that person's issue, not necessarily you. Okay, that's a lot of psychobabble
Yeah,
because
don't try to fucking Freud me.
there's no way that's not personal. It was, shots fired at me. It's personal.
But then you know what you have to turn back on is how self-aware are you of who you are?
Well,
like, does this
that
have
had to
merit?
kind of marinate.
Does this have merit or is it just bullshit because I know who I am?
Right. And then be like, well, okay, I'm not going to respect people that don't respect me. If that's a boundary I'm making, then how am I letting a proposed insult from someone that I have no respect for upset me at all?
Mhm.
But it's like you said, like with everything, it's a process.
Mhm.
Every now and again, some of them are eureka moments, granted. But most of them you have to look back and be like, oh, well, that's what he meant. Along with the power of apologizing to your children, of telling your wife she was right, was me having to go back, 18 months later and say to Joe, oh, you remember when you told me and I said you were full of shit? Yeah, well, you weren't. It's like, well,
we're like the only species, addicts, people with mental health, that all the breadcrumbs are out in front of us. They're right there. Like
well,
all we gotta do is follow them.
So I just
all we gotta do is follow them. We're like hiding them underneath the toilet. We're
flinging it over.
We're flinging it over the railing. Like I'll find that later. Like we don't pay attention to what's right in front of us. Like
no, you are so right.
I mean, I spent decades. Like,
or we hide them in self-sabotage. Like we bury the bread.
When I was in rehab, I actually had to sit down and go like, why did I quit the police department? Like, what was I thinking? And I wasn't. I was just drunk, and I was like, "Fuck this! I don't want to do this anymore." Like, granted, one of the best decisions I ever made, but
you did. You took your ball and went home, and
part of my
ended up being a good decision.
Part of my last run was like the not happy with what I did, not happy with making that choice. I had never come to terms with the fact that I threw away a career, that I only had to be there 8 more years to get a pension, and I threw it away because I was a drunk and I was miserable. But then I started to become self-aware and I started to understand who I am as a person. And that was like the biggest sign that I needed help. It was the biggest sign. Nobody said to me, why are you quitting? Nobody said, hey, what are you doing? They were just like, see ya. Like, and that's that thing. Like, you're my friends, but you didn't like say shit.
Right.
But once again, we make our own choices. We fucking got to lie in the bed we make. And, now I know why I quit was more than just the alcohol, and then I didn't want to do it anymore. The job was tearing me apart from the inside out. It was adding to my already uncontrollable poor mental health. So,
but when you pulled that trigger, no pun intended,
there was no logical reason.
But they were.
I literally woke up. I literally got done working a shift on a Saturday and never went back.
That was it.
That was it. 48 days later, I turned in my paperwork and said I quit. Like, I already had another job driving a truck like a week after I fucking stopped going to work. I just didn't care. And it's
crazy.
My
God, the breadcrumb analogy.
I mean,
I'm going to be using that so many times because that makes so much sense.
It's crazy how we just ignore the logic because...
But most of us are really logical people if you really look at it, though.
But when you look at people with mental health issues and you look at people with addiction issues, I hate that. We don't function in the realm of logic. It's all emotion 100% of the time.
That's true.
We let the emotions, we let what we're feeling guide what we do.
Well, which creates literally in my mind, uh, I'm not bipolar, but I think to some extent okay, I'm not diagnosed, but a bipolar moment because part of me is painfully, annoyingly logical
Yeah, at
and
work.
linear.
At work.
Well, and there's some, but yes, primarily, but then everything else is, but then there's trying to tie, and the breadcrumbs I have melted in the vinegar
I
somewhere.
challenge you, sit down one day and make a list of bad decisions you make and then tie the emotion to it and think and look at how many of them were caused by poor emotional health or an emotional decision, not a logical decision. Like
Okay.
taking a job, like, oh, I just don't want to work here anymore. Why? Because it just drives me crazy. Not, I could make better money or I could have a better benefits or a better 401k or better retirement. Like you may have been thinking those things, but the decision was made out of emotion. I guarantee you.
Oh,
that
leaving the DA's office.
if you make a
straight
list,
emotion.
at least half, if not 75% of those decisions, you're going to find that there was an emotional disruption.
And I accept that, and I will do it, and I will report back the next time we're sitting here. But I do have a question. Does that also apply? Is there a possibility that can apply to positive decisions connected
of
to
course.
positive emotions
course.
as well?
I mean,
But
emotionally,
we just don't.
I
None of us
got
make
married because emotionally, this woman is the best thing in my life.
that. All right, fair
The
point.
best person in my life. Like everything about her. Like I'm happy. I'm cheerful. I smile. We have great sex. I got to cut that out. Fuck. But like, you know, that's that. Like, granted, there's logic involved in that decision.
I did
but
wish you that in my text message to both.
there is logic in the decision that I made to get married to her. But the reason why I married her is because emotionally, I can't live without her. You know, so I think the problem is that most of our poor decisions and most of our stresses are caused by emotion. It goes back to the cognitive behavioral therapy. You know, every input gets attached to an emotion, and that emotion automatically pops up when you get that input. So you have a bad day at work, you get stressed, you get depressed, you get anxious, you get angry, you get sad, and it just snowballs, and you just train your body and your mind to respond a certain way to certain inputs. And I think, you know, we don't look at it, we don't realize it until we look back on things. Like I can look back on, like, why did I get married the first time? Well, because I felt like if I didn't want to be alone, an emotion, loneliness. You know, why did I get divorced? Well, because it was a horrible marriage, logic, you know. But, you know, why did I quit the police department? Emotional. You know, why did I do this? Why did I do that? Why did I move here? Why did I move there? Every single thing comes back to like, well, I was just unhappy. But why was I unhappy? Like, did I actually think about it? And no, I didn't actually think about it. I just made a decision, you know, and I'm that guy that, you know, I always went by my gut. And when you're drinking a lot, your gut isn't usually right, you know? But I think it's crazy. Like, you'll look back on it and like, you'll see some decisions that you made that were logical, but you'll still see the emotional overtones because emotion ties into everything we do. As people in recovery, I personally think that emotional ties into everything we do, even in recovery, even when we're sober or even when we're mentally healthy. The emotion, we're human beings. We can't eliminate emotion.
No.
But the difference is, as we get stronger in our recovery and we get stronger with our self-awareness and who we are as people and learning what triggers us and what causes us to have stress, we learn that the emotion doesn't have to drive an action, right?
Managing the emotion.
The emotion doesn't have to drive the action.
Correct.
It can be a component of the action.
And it should be.
At the end of the
we don't want to
day,
be emotionally void.
at the end of the day, if we're mentally well and we're doing well, the logical aspect does come in and usually, in my experience, will take the front seat and drive the bus while the emotion's still there and it can have an influence. I'm still making decisions now based off of logic rather than emotion. You know, I still get stressed out about money. Like I could easily say, we don't have any money to do this, this, and the other, but like I just had a fence built. You know, emotionally, I get stressed out, I get anxious, I get depressed thinking about money. But like the logical thing was, hey, I have 2 dogs. I need to keep them safe. I want to let them run. I don't want them to die young because they don't get any exercise. So the logical aspect said, hey, you can pay for this. It's going to be okay. Meanwhile, the emotion was stress and anxiety over the spending the money, but the logic won out because I'm able to check the emotions better on a more regular basis than I was before. And that's that CBT, catch it, check it, change it, you know, catch the emotion, rephrase it, and fucking move forward, you know? And I think that's one of the beautiful things about recovery from anything, whether it's cancer, disease, divorce, you know, mental health or addiction. You're forced to learn who you are if you truly want to get better.
Mm.
You're forced to admit what your defects are and what your strengths are and what your flaws are. And you're forced to accept who you are.
Accept who you are.
You know, like I said, I was just at this meeting last week, and I told him, I said, listen, you either like me for who I am, or I'll just keep on trucking. You know, I mean, like, I don't care what you think.
Well, it's
literally
funny.
don't
I just
care.
had a rampant, and not to take away from the seriousness, but because I'm a wackadoo. Couple minutes ago, you made a statement about the emotions driving the bus.
Mhm.
So ever since that moment, because shiny pigeon, the wheels on the bus
Squirrel.
go round and round, round and round.
Squirrel.
That's all that's been going through my head with everything else that
Aaron.
you've said since then.
Stop doing this. Yeah,
I'm
but
sorry. Look, I triggered something.
recovery humor.
Well, menopause Mary's about to melt if I get one more hot flash sitting here, so I think we're gonna have to end.
Yeah, we're gonna have to end this thing. What's your parting wisdom today?
You don't always have to be right.
I like it. I like it. And I'm going to leave with that. So, folks, thanks again for joining us. Once again, Corey O'Connor, if you're seeing this, please accept my invite to come on the podcast with Tony
come on.
Marino. I think it'd be a good conversation. And although I am a Republican, I will not make any judgments. You have my word.
And that's the basis of this podcast.
And that's the bottom line. So we love you all. We'll see you next time.
See you guys.